is how many stories of women and girls do we tell on Wikipedia? And second, how are these stories related? Is women's success, are women's stories being told by the lenses of men? Are they being defined by the lenses of people who are not women? Or should we take charge of telling our own stories by our own lenses? As young people, we have a big role to play in closing this internet gender gap. We are the most connected generation. On International Women's Day 2018, we are doing something really cool here. International Women's Day 2018.
Hi, everybody. How are you doing?
Freezing.
Okay, so everyone who's here everyone can hear my voice, please raise your hand.
Sorry?
If you can hear my voice, please raise your hand. Awesome. So who of you, is everyone here for the presentation on AfroCROWD at the UN and international partnerships? Awesome. It's great to see you. So today we're going to be talking about what we've been doing in the international community in partnerships as well as at the United Nations. My name is Sherry Antwine and I am the Program Director for AfroCROWD. We've been around since about 2015. Today you'll also hear from Linda Fletcher, who is an AfroCROWD, what we call coaches. They're very dedicated AfroCROWDers who help other people learn how to edit as well and are very involved. So first I'm going to play a little bit of a video. You saw a little bit of it. That kind of is an example of our involvement at the United Nations. And a lot of you will recognize it as part of the WikiGap program.
Women's Day 2018, we are doing something really cool here in the US called the WikiGap. This is organized by the Government Mission of Sweden, my office, other UN system partners, AfroCROWD, and Wikimedia. When we talk about gender equality on an important day like today, it's important that we do not forget the internet gender gap. What does the internet gender gap look in real life? For an example, in Wikipedia, the majority of the content on Wikipedia is about men. And the majority of the people who generate content on Wikipedia or who edit content on Wikipedia are men. This is about 9 out of 10 people who edit Wikipedia are men. This affects two things. The first is how many stories of women and girls do we have in Wikipedia, do we tell on Wikipedia? And second, how are these stories related? Is women's success, are women's stories being told by the lenses of men? Are they being defined by the lenses of people who are not women? Or should we take charge of telling our own stories by our own lenses? As young people, we have a big role to play in closing this internet gender gap. We are the most connected generation this world has ever seen. We have access to technology, we have access to internet. So I call on all of you young people to use this access, to use these tools such as Wikipedia, social media, and all the other platforms that are freely available to us, to use these platforms to tell the stories of strong and powerful women and girls all over the world. Happy International Women's Day to all of you.
All right, give yourselves a round of applause because this wouldn't have happened without the Wikimedia community all over the world coming together to connect with the Swedish mission as well as the Swedish Foreign Ministry to put something on like this on. How many of you were involved in WikiGap in your country? Awesome! So this is the right group. So all of you understand a little bit about what it is to seek and create partners in an international community. And a lot of you, I bet you very few of you are always working with an organization like the UN or the Swedish mission or so forth, right? Most of you have your day-to-days. Am I right? Or are you all really experienced organizers in the world of that? And I'm confused. Okay, great, good. All right, so I'm just going to give a quick run of what we've done. and just our best practices and what we've learned. Give you guys an opportunity to talk to each other about what you've learned together. And here we go. So I've already mentioned that I'm part of the AfroCROWD. Let this get started. AfroCROWD was begun by a Wikipedian by the name of Alice Backer in New York City. We started in 2015 during Black History Month in the United States. In short, we are an initiative to increase awareness of the African diaspora on Wikipedia. In long, we are AfroCROWD Crowdsourcing Wikimedia, an outreach initiative, and now we're a user group, yay! New t-shirt. Which seeks to increase awareness of the Wikimedia and free knowledge culture and software movements among potential editors of African descent. We also pride ourselves on working with different groups that have similar missions. For as long as we've been around, we've tried to be flexible, we've tried to work with different groups, and thankfully we've been able to, with the help of a chapter in our area that support us called the Wikimedia New York City, with whom Richard Ferris is here, to have an event every month since 2015. But we've been able to do it with the support of dedicated volunteers. We also have been working to be multilingual and extremely welcoming in each of our events, because regardless of your background, where you're from, we believe that everyone has a place in the Wikimedia community, and we want to ensure that when you walk through our doors, regardless of who you are, or even if you're there to write about pens and pencils and not about our mission focus, we want to make sure you feel that you have a place and that we can work with you. So we've worked with galleries, libraries, archives, museums, and we've also worked with international organizations, grassroots initiatives, and as you've seen, we've had opportunities at the United Nations and non-governmental organizations. I've already discussed some of the things that we want to accomplish today, and a few more are that you learn, receive, grow, meet, and develop. This annual event called Wikimedia is a great opportunity for the international community to come together of Wikipedia, get to know each other, whether you're just getting started in the movement or if you've been around for a while. So let this be an extension of that. Get to know each other. I'm going to provide an opportunity for that in a second. And we want to also share with you how we organize, and let's see if we can learn from each other what we can do for our next event. Okay, so how many of you don't know what the United Nations is? Okay, so I don't need to go over that. We had the opportunity to learn about the SDGs at our opening keynote, and so I'm going to talk about what we've been doing surrounding those SDGs. So among the United Nations SDGs AfroCROWD has interacted with, we have had the opportunity to work on quality education, which is SDG 4, SDG 5, which is gender equality, and the women who came before us, I know we're talking a little bit about that, and it's very important too. Innovation, of course, partnership for the SDG goals, which is number 17, and number 10, which is reduced inequalities. So here are our main action points with the UN and the international community. We've presented and organized events. We've worked with other Wikimedia groups, and we've spoken directly on the matters that I just mentioned. All right, so really, we had a great opportunity with a group of people who came to the UN years ago from the Wikimedia community. They included Wikimedia DC, Wikimedia New York City, not the Sans Japage, but Women in Red, and a few others for something called Her Story, Wikipedia editathon. So that was our first intro as Wikipedia groups in the UN. After that, me in my other life, I've been involved in UN initiatives, including as someone working with the NGO CSW, which is non-governmental organizations at the UN. So I'll come back to that later, of how you can use, people who may not have anything to do with what you're trying to do, but may also be connected. Because have you heard that saying that everyone is separated by 6 degrees? I'll come back to that. But our first intro, just as AfroCROWD, was at the UN 2030 Technology Side Event on Women and Girls. Here I am with a woman from Wikimedia New York City, and the two of us went and spoke at an event focused on young people and innovation, especially with the focus being SDG 5 on women and girls. So what we did was we connected with a group loosely associated with the UN, and we made known to them who we are, what we're interested in, and that we're open to interaction and collaboration in the international community. So that's one thing that we've learned is very important, that you let people know who you are, what you're about, what you want to do. Let's just say, for example, you are an engineer, right? And you're an engineer who would like to interact with the international community. So when people see you, they should know, Sherry Antoine, engineer, likes to interact with the international community, open, and available to speak and work with different groups. So when an opportunity comes up, like this side event, they know, hey, this group is awesome. Sherry and Anne, they are open to interacting with the international community. We need somebody to speak to young people about some of the things that they do. Why don't we ask them to come along? It's not as simple as that, but that's a good start. So that's one of the events that we did. You already saw the video with the Swedish Mission and Wikigap. Wikigap was another great opportunity to be involved in the international efforts. As many of you know who worked with Wikigap, it takes a lot of work ahead of time to get to what that video was. It was months and months of collaboration. Talking with the partners, going to meetings, training people, prepping people. But at the end of the day, the basic interaction is really 2 to 4 people. So what I'm going to talk about at the end is how to use those interactions and grow them slowly to the point where it can become a large event like we saw. And these are just some more pictures from our more recent events at the Swedish Mission in the United Nations. And finally, I had the opportunity to speak at the United Nations Forum on Digital Divide. And this was focused on, no. This was focused on the, the digital divide, women, especially rural women, and I do. So here comes that icebreaker I was telling you about. All right, so get up, turn to the person closest to you, so next to you. Wait, I didn't say talk. I said turn to the person next to you. Now, if you can hear my voice, raise your hand. If you can hear my voice, raise your hand. If you can hear my voice, raise your hand. Okay. So turn to the person next to you, and in one sentence, describe to them who you are, what you're about, as in what's your mission, what your focus is, and what you'd like to get out of today. One sentence. And you know, some of you know exactly what that is. It's called that elevator pitch, right? One sentence. I'll be right back. Please raise your hand. If you can hear my voice, please raise your hand. Awesome. All right, so how many of you, that's about the length of an elevator ride or a walk to the bathroom or a walk to the coffee shop. So how many of you feel that in that short period of time you got to know the basics of the person next to you? And how many of you feel that now you have an opportunity to maybe continue this conversation further beyond this event? That's awesome. So you did great networking, and now let's get back to what I was talking about. Give yourself a round of applause. Okay. So I'm going to cut to the chase because obviously the technology. But there are some. Every organizer in here knows that there are some fundamentals that you need to do to prepare when you're working with a partner, especially if it's a large organization, but also if it's a small one or just one person. One of the ways that we do it is we use the 5 W's and the H. How many of you know what that is? All right, a lot of journalists might be able to tell you that they use that as well. The 5 W's and the H in English are who, finish it with me, what, when, where, why, how. So that's very easy to remember. So as you organize, something that will help you to get what you want out of it and out of those short interactions that these busy people have with you is you want to know, first of all, who you are and what you want, right? If you're representing an organization or if you're working on your own, you want to know what your mission is, right? What you want to get out of the interaction. And also, very importantly, who your partner is or who your potential partner is. Study them, study yourself, and that way when you show up, you know, you've got that one sentence already ready. Well, I'm this, and I want this, and they're this, and they want that. Next is what? What do you want to do? You have to have an itch to scratch, right? If you have, you can't scratch, there's no itch. You know, you got, what do you want to get out of this? The where is super duper important, right? As soon as you know the where, you can start building a program around it. So let's say your who is Sherry. Sherry, she is a Wikipedia organizer. She wants to have a wiki editathon with this partner, Wiki Les Sans Page, right? Or with the United Nations, or with, I don't know, UNICEF or Amnesty International or something. And where, though, once you guys meet, where are you going to put this? Is it going to be online? Is it going to be in person? Is it going to be both? So that's it. Feels like a very simple question, but you'd be surprised how many people glaze over that. And they talk for months and months and months, and they're like, oh yeah, where are we going to do this? Okay, now why? I was in learning days, so I added so what because of Asaf. And when you say why, you say, why are we doing this? Why are we getting together in the first place? You know, what's the outcome that we want? And also, why would people come to our event? And finally, how? The how can be the hardest part, right? How will your target audience be able to achieve your set mission? What does success look like to you? And is it a good idea? It's a good idea to ask this from your organizational partner as well. Because you want to be, even though you might be parallel, you want to make sure that you at least achieve partially what you started out to achieve. So when we did Wikigap, for example, we knew that we, as Wikipedians, we wanted, and AfroCROWD Wikipedians, we wanted to have more content about Black women who've done amazing things all over the world. And we felt that the UN had tons of people like that. Now, the organizations that we work with, like the UN Women, the Swedish Mission, the UN Youth Envoy that you just saw, well, what they're going to focus likely on are how is this going to impact their constituent groups? For example, the people of Sweden, or the young people of the world, or women at the UN or in generally. So when you know all these things, you have everything you need at least to get started, we feel, to have a successful event where you leave feeling that you accomplished something. Because how many of you have gone to an event or even organized an event where you feel you put a lot of work into it, and then when you were done, you weren't really sure what you accomplished? How many of you? Well, I know I've been a part of things like that. So there's that. And also, what we mentioned earlier, I was going to talk about these as some case studies, but what we mentioned earlier about, you know, being in that 6 degrees of separation and making sure that people know what you're about and what you'd like to do, that you're open to things, that may not be easiest for all of us who may not have a chapter with us or may not live in New York and so therefore be close enough to the UN. So it's great to work within the networks that you're already a part of. Everybody knows somebody, or else I really feel horrible for you, because everybody, you know, no one is an island, right? It doesn't have to obviously be the UN or another gigantic organization. But even those larger partnerships start small. We started with for example, at the Swedish Mission, we started with a connection from Wikimedia Sweden. So now what you have are 3 partners. You've got Wikigap, the Wikimedia Sweden, the Wikigap Gap group, 4, yourself, and the connection that they made. That's 4 people, not 4 organizations, that's 4 people who will be discussing how to put an event together. We've worked with other groups like African Women on Board. They're an organization also built of people. We got a contact, we met somebody that we wanted to work with, we spoke to that person, and then we connected with Wikimedia Nigeria in Nigeria, and we had an international event between that touched Nigeria, the partner that we spoke about, as well as us in New York, along with whoever we were connected to in France, where we have a great organizer working with us, as well as in Ghana through, how many of you know Felix? But people that we met at events like this. We have like a 1 minute. I just want the organizers who came and to please stand up. We've got Linda Fletcher And we've got Kelly Foster and Sheila. Can you guys please stand up? So I just want to give an opportunity for you guys to meet two other people who are doing amazing things. Kelly has been working as the branch organizer for AfroCROWD in the UK. She's done a lot of great things. Linda has been very instrumental at the United Nations, where she is very involved. And these are two connections that you now have that you can speak to after this is over about ways that you can connect with them to work in your area. Obviously, I'm Sherry. I'm with AfroCROWD. I'm open. I would like to work with whoever is here. I have an email address. And we always would love to see you on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, which have been very useful to us off Wiki. To connect with us, there's DMs, there's email, and there's also, obviously, everywhere you go, #AfroCROWD. Could you do us a favor while you're here and like us or follow us, and we can keep the conversation going. I really enjoyed meeting you today, and once again, give yourselves a round of applause for all the great work you've done this year.